Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. Today is going to be yet another foundation review. I know, I am really sorry. I did promise I wasn't going to be doing any more foundation reviews for a while, but then Shiseido released a brand new foundation that is supposed to be self-refreshing and it really sparked my interest, so I had to get my hands on it. And once I'd bought it, I mean, why not do a review on it? Today we are going to be doing a full wear test and a full review on the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation and concealer. These both have very similar properties. I'm really eager to see whether the concealer is going to crease underneath my eyes. I mean, I already know whether it's going to crease under my eyes because this is not going to be a first impressions review. I have been wearing the foundation and the concealer for a good few days now, so I know how this works the best, and I'm really eager to share my thoughts and feelings with you. So let's do a little bit of bump on both of these products and we'll get some on my face. Okay, so this is another pricey foundation, £39 in the UK, $47 in the US. You get 30 mils worth of product. This comes in 30 different shades and I've gone for the shade 160, which is Shell. Let's read what it says on their website. So, a Shiseido first in foundation that self-refreshes non-stop with active force technology. Our long-wearing fluid foundation synchronizes with the skin and helps resist heat, humidity, oil, and facial movement to maintain a just applied flawless finish that lasts 24 hours. I'm not going to be wearing it 24 hours, but I will do a considerably long wear test today. It's weightless, breathable, blendable, and buildable. This is medium buildable coverage, and it's supposed to be a fresh, natural finish, which I completely agree. This is definitely a fresh, natural finish. So a little bit of extra information. This does have an SPF of 30 in here. It's oil-free. It's also fragrance-free. So anybody that's got a sensitive skin, no fragrance in this foundation. Hallelujah. This is an all-day hydration foundation, so this will hydrate throughout the day. It's waterproof, which is a good job because it's chucking it down outside, and I have got to stand out in that in just a little while. It's also smudge-proof, humidity-resistant, transfer-resistant. It's dermatologist-tested. Not that that really means anything. It's non-comedogenic and it's for all skin types. So we are going to test this out today because I have some severe dryness on my skin. Let's see how this applies. Let's get some on. Okay, so as per usual, I have all my skincare on my face. I've given that plenty of time to sink in before I'm applying the foundation. Also, as per usual, I am not wearing a primer today because this is a foundation wear test, and each individual foundation reacts differently with each individual primer and each individual person that primer is sitting on. So we're going to see what this looks like on just skin today and see how it wears. This does have a little spinny lid, so it will lock in place. If you're taking this away in any luggage, you won't get any spillage because it does have a locking mechanism on the top. I've gone for the shade 160, which is Shell. It's got a really nice coverage. It's quite a thin, loose product. It's actually flattening out over time, so it is quite a loose product. It's got lovely coverage, as you can see there. This is a medium coverage, I would say, immediately. And it definitely is buildable. This is very flattering on the skin immediately. It is immediate. I do have a really dry patch around here, so I have applied quite a lot of moisturiser. It's been there for a couple of weeks now and I just couldn't get rid of it. I actually thought it was my tretinoin that was causing that, but I've eventually narrowed it down to my Angel Veil primer from NYX. I'm gutted. So I've had to stop using that because it's really not just dried out certain areas of my skin, it's really dried out this area. I mean, it's very dry at the minute. So we are going to have to make allowances for that dry patch of skin throughout the day because it's really dry. Oh, and I've forgotten to use a blending sponge on one side of my face, so let me just take the blending sponge. See, I should be able to do two things at once. Let's see how it applies to the forehead, because it's such a smooth application. really is with a blending sponge. So usually I apply it with a brush and then I go over it with a blending sponge. But if you are wanting less coverage, the blending sponge is the way to go. So, so beautiful on application. You are going to use more product if you are using a blending sponge though. I tend to go through 3 pumps of this if I'm using a blending sponge all over my face, which I think is quite excessive. Okay, so that is the first coat done. It just has such a beautiful, beautiful sheen on the skin. Really, really beautiful. It's a low medium coverage, which I am seriously, seriously happy with. You can still see a couple of freckles through that, which I like. It's airbrushed my pores a tiny weeny bit because it's that slight matte finish, but because it is a natural matte finish, it's got a little bit of a sheen on the surface, so it's very, very flattering. I cannot wait to try this on my mum. I've got a feeling this is going to look beautiful on my mum. Let's see if it'll just build up around the areas where I still have the tiniest bit of acne scarring left. I'm going to build it up with a sponge. So easy to build. So easy to build. Really, really nice. So really, really like that. Very, very flattering foundation. I'm not quite sure why, but today I'm having a little bit of trouble with it grabbing to a certain area on my chin. I don't think I've had this problem before. If I have, I haven't noticed. Maybe it's because I put the first coat on and then I left a little bit of time before I went over with it with a blending sponge and it may have lifted a little bit of product. But not quite sure why that's happened. I will show you this in natural lighting, but before, let's get some of the concealer on. I'm just going to pop a tiny dot of that underneath the eye first, and then I'm going to go straight in with the blending sponge. Now I can tell you straight away, this is not as full coverage as the Benefit Cakeless Concealer that is my go-to at the moment. But it is a nice amount of coverage and it looks very flattering on the skin. So I really like the finish of that concealer. I think it's really flattering underneath the eye. It's not too flat matte, so it definitely doesn't look drying underneath the eye at all, and it's not sat in any fine lines or wrinkles yet. However, I have had to build this up to get the coverage that I wanted, and it is moving a little bit more than the Cakeless Concealer would from Benefit. So I already know that this concealer is going to have to be set in place to make sure it's locked down tight so that it doesn't crease throughout the day. I'm going to go and do that off camera. I'm also going to apply all the rest of my products and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the finished look for today. Let me know what you think about it in the description box below. It's nothing over the top because I am going to be stood next to a football pitch watching Seth play football for a considerable amount of time this morning, and it's very wet outside. So I thought I'd just do something quite natural. I really, really like it. I think it looks really flattering on my skin. Let me show you this in natural lighting and you can make your own mind up. So as you can see the dryness around my chin area, but I don't think this foundation has sank into any of that dryness whatsoever. It definitely hasn't sank into any of my smile lines, which I'm really, really impressed about because that is usually the first area that it collects in, and it's not done that today. It's definitely not emphasised the severe dryness that I've got on my upper lip on my right hand side. Really quite impressed actually. I have powdered my chin area, so that area looks a little drier than the rest of my face. But it's got a lovely sheen on the surface of this foundation. It's not moved since I put it on. All the rest of my products went on like an absolute dream, blended out perfectly. So I am really, really impressed. I obviously have worn this foundation over the last few days, so I know how this is going to work the best. I will check in with you a little bit later on. See you all in a bit. Hi everybody, welcome back to the check-in. It's now been just over 11 hours since I first applied the foundation to my face. It's done really, really well. I like the results. I've liked the results from previous days as well. The one thing I will say is that this foundation is very, very temperamental depending on what you put it on top of. So I'm talking about skincare, SPF, and also primer. I've had very, very differing results depending on what I've put it on top of. So let me just show you this in natural lighting, because quite honestly, this looks, apart from looking a little bit more luminous than it did when I first put it on, practically looks the same. Okay, so as you can see on my chin area, it does look a little bit mottled and blotchy, and I'm really, really irritated that I actually powdered that area, because that has not happened on any other day. Today is the first day that I've actually powdered my chin, and this is the first day that it's gone a little bit patchy on that area and looks very, very dry. This did not happen on previous days, so I'm blaming the powder for that. This foundation has not broken down at all. It's not gone cakey. There's definitely not sank into any major dryness. It has sank into some dryness, but it doesn't emphasize the dryness massively. So this is going to be really good for anybody with dry skin and also with sensitive skin. Tati Westbrook has a more combi skin than mine. Mine is a little bit more dry, and she also really likes this foundation. So if you're wanting to know whether it'll suit somebody with oilier or more combi skin, then maybe shoot across to her channel and watch her review. So overall, this foundation is really quite flattering, and I would recommend this. I am definitely going to try this one out on my mum. Please keep in mind though that, like I said at the beginning of this conclusion, that this foundation will look completely different depending on what you put it on top of. So I found that if I'd put this on top of a mattifying SPF as well as a mattifying primer, this looked really quite dry on my skin. It lasted a really long time, but it didn't look as flattering as it has done today. I find that the best way to wear this for my personal skin is if I put a mattifying SPF with a hydrating primer, and this looks absolutely stunning and lasts an incredibly long amount of time. If you don't like primers, if you don't have a problem area, so if you don't have large pores or texture on your skin, you can possibly get away without a primer at all with this foundation. This has lasted such a long time today, 11 hours for a foundation, when I've had quite a day. This has had quite a workout, this foundation. I've been out in the rain. I've been from hot to cold, from hot to cold. So this has had quite a lot of a workout today within that 11-hour period, and it's lasted really, really well. So I would highly recommend this. Just remember that if it doesn't work on your skin, it doesn't mean that that is the foundation. Look at what you're actually teaming it on top of. Okay, so let's talk about the concealer, because the concealer for me is the biggest disappointment of the day, because the foundation has held all my other products absolutely beautifully. My bronzer and my blush are still intact, and there has been no creasing whatsoever. The foundation hasn't sank into my smile lines. It's just not gone cakey or creasy or anything. So the foundation for me is a big thumbs up. But the concealer was very, very quick to move. It moved very, very easily. It's creased throughout the day, even though I set it in place. So for me, the concealer is not worth the amount that I paid for it, which I think is around about £29 for a concealer. Ouch. Real ouch. Like, that is expensive for a concealer for me, and I probably won't be using it again. I have used it solidly for the last 4 days, and I just haven't been able to get it to work for me. It's also not the best coverage concealer, but I would have liked to have seen a concealer that is more of a full coverage concealer. Even though the foundation is a medium coverage, I would have preferred the concealer to be more of a high coverage concealer. It just wasn't my thing. But regardless of how much of this I actually put under the eye, whether I was being really, really sparing or whether I was slapping it on, it still creased and moved throughout the day very, very quickly. I would say within an hour and a half to 2 hours. This, I mean, if you can see, this has moved quite considerably throughout the day. So big disappointment for me and not worth the money, but I would highly recommend going out and getting a sample of the foundation and trying it on your skin to see if it suits you. I really hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please do give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I upload on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. London time, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. There is a watermark in this corner. If you click on it, it will take you through to my homepage where you can subscribe. I'm also on Instagram if you want to follow me on there. It's @pamperedwolf, all lowercase, no spaces. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye.